Good morning, everyone. What a beautiful morning. And good morning to the people who are also viewing from remote locations. No matter who you are, no matter whom you love, no matter where you are welcome here this morning. My name is Cheryl Storms. I'll be serving as your worship associate, leading worship along with Latifa Griffin-Rogers, our guest preacher, and our music director, Bob Rowland. I'd like to thank the members of the tech team this morning, the members of the hospitality team, and our online host. Latifa earned her Master's of Divinity from Lancaster Theological Seminary. She was raised in Chester, Pennsylvania, and works as a licensed professional counselor. Latifa's personal mission is to enlighten others to our interconnectedness as humans. She was baptized in the Baptist tradition as a teenager, and after a long discernment process, she found a new spiritual community in the Unitarian Universalist tradition in 2018 as a member of the First Unitarian Church of Wilmington. She enjoys relaxing, spending time with her family, who are her wife Keisha, and their 5 young people, plus their snake, their turtle, and a dog. Latifa is currently finishing her internship as an intern minister at Unitarian Society of Germantown. She recently accepted an interim director of spiritual development position at Unitarian Society of Germantown, scheduled to begin July 1st, 2022. If you are viewing us on Zoom, please remember that you can activate your closed captioning if that's helpful to you. And if you'd like to talk with other participants after the service in a virtual coffee hour, just stay logged in and you'll be invited into a breakout room. Please rise in body or in spirit and join us now in singing our opening hymn, Morning Has Come. Please remain standing after the hymn for our covenant. Okay, we are changing it too. Let the whole creation cry. Reciting our covenant together. The words will be on the screen. Enriched by our differences and joined together in our search for meaning, we covenant with ourselves and
Good morning. All right, I'm Latifah Griffin Rogers, and I have our chalice lighting this morning. It's titled Everyday Blessings by Reverend Julia Corbett Heimeyer. Welcome into this sacred space, this hallowed hour, made sacred by our presence and intentions here. We come with deep gratitude for everyday blessings, for the dependable changing of the seasons as they follow one another, for smiles and waves and unspoken and spoken greetings, for being with others in worship, for babies, puppies, and kittens, and for the wisdom of the old. Everyday blessings that sustain us. Let this flame represent those everyday blessings. Blessed be.
Each week, we gather in community, carrying what we carry. We may be feeling full of joy or full of sorrow. We honor whatever it is we're feeling, wherever we are, by dropping stones of joy or sorrow into our bowl. Or if you're joining us online, please share by chat. All are welcome to come forward and drop a stone.
This morning, I dropped a stone for our online community for joys and sorrows, and a stone for all of the joys and sorrows for our members who cannot be here this morning. Just want to share with you a pastoral prayer titled "Gone Are the Days" by Reverend Rebecca Savage. Eternal beloved, that which is greater than ourselves, hear our prayer of affirmation. Today is the day. Today is our day. Gone are the days when we are slumbered, unaware of the blessings that we are. We follow the path of inherent worth. Gone are the days when we did not embrace the spirit of life that moves through us and with us. We follow the path of prophetic witness. Gone are the days when we allowed the urgency of others' expectations to dictate our lives. We follow the path of serenity. Gone are the days when rest was forbidden and as a delicacy reserved for only when our bones were dry. We follow the path of perpetual renewal and spiritual growth. Gone are the days when we felt as if we were not enough. Today we follow the path of grace. Today is the day. Today is our day. And may we be bold in our faith, declaring that gone are the days. We are Unitarian Universalists, and we are the blessings we seek for this world and the beloved community we are building. Ashe, and may it be so. And we will now hear our hymn, number 123, Spirit of Life. I think I lost my mask. On my hair. Okay, sorry about that. Go ahead. All right. You all are some excellent teachers because I just tried to pick it up from you all. Thank you. We don't do it at USG, but I think that's a wonderful practice for those that are not able to visually see but want to participate. Our reading this morning is by Michelle Alexander and Leslie Alexander, and it's an excerpt from the book Fear, titled White Fear of Black Freedom. There's never been a time in the United States history when Black rebellion did not spark existential fear among white people, often leading to a violent response. Even when resistance has been peaceful or purely symbolic, any sign of rebellion has frequently resulted in threats or acts of violence perpetrated by white vigilantes, militia groups, and the police, often culminating in the creation of or strengthening of systems of racial and social control. The reflexive impulse to respond to Black people with severe punitiveness is traceable to the 18th and 19th centuries, when white people desperately sought to control a large, unfree population who refused to submit to their enslavement. The deep-seated gnawing terror that Black people might one day rise up and demand for themselves the same freedoms and inalienable rights that led white colonists to declare American Revolution has shaped our nation's politics, culture, and systems of justice ever since. The specific forms of repression and control may have changed over time, certainly have, but the underlying pattern established during slavery has remained the same. Modern-day policing, surveillance, and mass criminalization, as well as white vigilante violence, know-your-place aggression, have histories rooted in white fear, not nearly of Black crime or Black people, but out of Black liberation. Nothing has proved more threatening to our democracy or more devastating to Black communities than white fear of Black freedom and dreams.
Now is the time in our service when we share our abundance. I invite you to use the text to give function using your smartphone to make a donation to support this church and its work in the world. The number is on your screen.
Let us take a moment of just contemplation for a few seconds. Thank you. Today is an interesting day. All right, I know some of you probably looked at the title and was like, oh, what is this conversation going to be about? So just a disclaimer, this homily or sermon contains a little bit of strong language that will incite you to action, I hope, and will facilitate various conversation starters. And the reason why I'm taking this approach is because every one of you sitting here are the folks we need to help advance the cause of persons of color in this world to find freedom. Today is a day of freedom. Juneteenth, rather, celebrates a day of belated freedom. Enslaved people in the Confederacy who did not manage to escape across the Union lines or find themselves in occupied territory were not all made free by Lincoln's proclamation, and had to wait until the end of the Civil War to take their free breaths. In isolated Texas, word of the official end of fighting, the surrenders of General Robert E. Lee and Joseph E. Johnston's, and the capture of President Jefferson Davis through May 1865 arrived late. The news did not arrive. And when it did, it was super late. So freedom finally came to Texas on June 19th of 1865, after the proclamation by General Gordon Granger in Galveston solidified the emancipation of 250,000 of enslaved people in the state. Again, note that this was 2.5 years after President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, which had become official on January 1st, 1863. Father's Day which is also today, well, celebrates fathers. Fathers today here at UUCDC, whether you are cisgender, transgender, non-binary, and you have a role in the investment of the growth of young people, then today is your day. For a long time, Father's Day has only been about men of a certain kind, cisgender men. And the idea is to celebrate the community of fathers of all types with love and acceptance. So, here's where these two intermingle and where I'm going with this. The first Father's Day was celebrated on June 19th, 1910, which would have been Juneteenth of that year. And I wonder how that went in 1910, right? Because although free in the South, black folks, black men in particular, was still being hunted down, and lynched just for being black. So we had to celebrate our semblance of freedom in our silos of our own communities. And if we were sharecroppers, we probably couldn't celebrate until our daily work was complete, if at all, because that was being sabotaged as well. So Juneteenth at one point wasn't as commercialized because, one, not enough people knew about it. And I would be bold to say that nor did anyone outside of the African American community cared about Juneteenth in the way that the black folks did. So for a long time, Juneteenth has existed without much acknowledgement and celebration by the entirety of the community, only by black folks. And Juneteenth is the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of the ending of slavery in the United States. So one would think at this point we would be kumbayaing right now in 2022, right? One would think at this point we wouldn't be having race wars and sex trafficking and institutional and economic injustices impacting BIPOC people on the daily basis that we still have to contend with in 2022. One thing is super clear about the day, Juneteenth, June 19th, 1865, when it became a thing. It was the day that black folks were told they were free. But as most of us know here in this sanctuary, BIPOC folks, and particularly black men, our fight for freedom continues. Don't believe me? Just ask the black man. I only see my son here, he's not quite old enough. Particularly the black father. Doesn't matter what your social economic status is. It is that much harder to proclaim one's liberation as a black man when you are often simply judged by what you wear, how your hair is, where you're from, the type of vehicle you drive, and the neighborhood you live in. A black man is judged for living in the hood in substandard living conditions while trying to build their life. And a black man is also judged for being in the middle to high class, earning a living and living in the McMansion. So it's darned if you do, darned if you don't. There are strikes against the black man for simply existing. How do you honor that on Father's Day? On Juneteenth? It's still happening. So who are we honoring today? All right? When is enough enough? I've been talking about Juneteenth and Father's Day, and I haven't mentioned Pride Month. That's a whole nother thing, right? Pride Month, Juneteenth are commercial holidays now, which we would think that's a good thing, right? Except not everyone is buying into the narrative of acknowledging the inherent worth and dignity of each person. They just want the money. Especially those that check a box other than a cisgender heteronormative person. We may have been emancipated, but we are not quite liberated. Until the black man is completely free and not under threat from those in authority, none of us should consider ourselves liberated. Our work isn't done until the black man, the black father, is no longer the avatar that causes societal fear. Liberation occurs when there is equality and opportunity for all types of men, not just the privileged and the affluent or the cisgender, white male. Liberation should be for everyone. As a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association, we sign up to affirm our belief and the principles that guide us, to see and appreciate people for who they are, no matter how they identify. Because there's something to be learned from everyone, especially the black man. So I went searching, and I found an article from 2020 by NPR. And NPR wrote an article based on live interviews from black men around their experience of being black in America. And here are some highlights. NPR say, black people say they are frustrated, fearful, and fatigued. A young man says, I'm not gonna lie, I'm angry. Ellington, a 41-year-old marketing professional who has a 10-year-old daughter, says, and I quote, as a black man in America, it is already hard enough that we have to fight within ourselves to become a better person. But there are countless forces working outside of ourselves that are also working against us and have been for generations. Ellington is one of 200 people who shared their perspective with NPR about being black in America. Nicholas Gibbs of Spring, Texas, is particularly concerned about his 2 toddler sons growing up. And he says, and I quote, to be black in America, you have to endure white supremacy. You have to fear the police. To be American, you have the luxury of saying, they should have complied. To be black in America, you have to hope someone recorded your compliance because you may no longer be around to defend yourself, the 39-year-old said. Another black man, Alexander Pittman, who lives in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, says there's a huge amount of anxiety on a daily basis regarding any contact with police, even if you are doing something wrong or illegal, or not doing anything wrong or illegal, because you know it could escalate out of control. Being a black man in America, you know you have to live by a different set of rules, Pittman said. Pittman, whose children are 4 years old, is also a public school teacher. And he says he tries to have real conversations with his students and his sons about the role that race has played in the U.S. historically and today. He goes, it's hard because on one hand, I don't believe in riots, looting, and violence, but on the other hand, when is enough enough? We need real, tangible police reforming on a national level, and that has been largely ignored. For a lot of us here, this isn't your reality. When I ask the question, black dads, are you free? It's not rhetorical. NPR did the work for us. They took a small sample size of 200 black men and interviewed them. And darn it if they all didn't have something similar to say. They all had something similar to say about living in fear on the daily basis. How many of you today, by a show of hands, live in perpetual fear for your lives? One hand. How many men, by a show of hands this morning, live in perpetual fear of your life? And by the way, no one should live in fear. Everyone should be able to traverse this earth without fear of being killed simply for being. So today, in this Pride Month, on this Father's Day, on this Juneteenth, I encourage you to think about, pray for, be kinder to, love on, gently guide the Black man, the trans person, the non-binary person, the person who's the stepdad, right? Filling in a role, the Black man, whose fears we heard shared through the NPR article. When we don't have freedom, we experience crisis. That is my whole clinical theoretical orientation. That's how I operate when I see my clients. Where is the area of your life that's missing? If it's freedom, you're going to experience crisis. If it's fun, you're going to experience crisis. If it's love or a breakup or something, you're going to experience crisis. If you get kicked out of a community, a sense of belonging, a lack thereof, you're going to experience crisis. So this is a crisis that Black men are experiencing. So we must do something about it. We must live out our principles and work to educate others as well. And it's going to take a community, specifically a beloved community. And that's what we have here in Unitarian Universalism. So thank you. Blessed be, and amen. Now please rise in body and spirit and join us in singing our closing hymn.
As we extinguish the chalice flame, please join me in saying the words printed on the screen. Although we now extinguish our chalice flame, may we hold its work in our hearts in the days ahead. Again, I would like to thank all who made today's worship possible, including the tech managers, the hospitality team, all who helped set up for our service today, Bob Rowland, our music director, and Latifah Griffin Rogers, our visiting preacher. As a reminder, if those online would like, you can wait for the breakout rooms at the end of the service and participate in online coffee hour. Thank you.
All right, it's time for our benediction. All right. For those who come here seeking God, may God go with you. For those who come embracing life, may life
return your affection.
And for
And
those
who come to seek a path,
may
may a way be found, and
step by step.
blessed be.
Amen.